Okay guys, jumping right into the Marge Simpson tutorial. I am cleaning my eyebrows with some alcohol because we have to glue them down. Taking a glue stick and just rubbing them aggressively or rubbing it aggressively through my eyebrows, combing it through with a spoolie, and then taking my finger and pressing it down very firmly so that everything is nice and smooth. And then I'm going to take a hairdryer and blow dry it. This process is sped up. It does take quite a bit of time, but I do show you that I have passed over my eyebrow with glue. I think it's 3 times. I have very thick, coarse eyebrows, so it takes quite a bit of gluing to get them all glued down and covered. Those of you that have finer eyebrows or thinner eyebrows, this process might not be as strenuous. I also then take a cotton ball with some alcohol and I wipe away any excess glue along any parts of my skin, and then take a translucent powder and powder my eyebrows to set that glue. I then take a white concealer and conceal my under eyes and any blemishes, only because since I'm using yellow face paint, I really don't want there to be any types of discoloration under it. I didn't know how light at the time it was going to be, and I'm really glad I covered up my eyebrows with the white concealer because it would not have covered, the white and the yellow would not have covered my eyebrows at all. I just then blend that out with a brush. No big deal. Blend, blend, blend. Moving on and starting the actual look itself, I use a yellow eyeliner, and I forgot to press record whenever I started actually outlining the look, but I just take a yellow eyeliner and I map out where I want the Marge Simpson head to be on my face. Usually I'd use black or white, but I had yellow eyeliner, so I figured since her face and body are yellow, I might as well use it up while I can. Now I'm doing the eyes. I struggled really with mapping out my eyes. It took me a few tries and I wiped it away and then ended up having to redraw it quite a few times. That didn't really matter in the end though, because as you'll see at the end of the video, I ended up using a tool to really help me with the eyeballs because I wanted them nice and round. I then needed to black out where her face wasn't going to be. So I took some black cream face paint and I just I painted the negative space. So anywhere that her neck, her body, her face wasn't going to be, I just painted it black. And this was just really to kind of help me to understand what I was working with and if I needed to make any major changes at this time. I then started to yellow my face, and I used a water-activated yellow face paint, and I don't really care much for water-activated face paint only because it does leave, especially if you're using such a light color like yellow, it does leave your look looking fairly streaky. However, that's the only face paint that I had at the time, so such is life. It worked out just fine, and I probably could have put a second coat on, but I didn't have enough time to wait for it to dry. So if you're really looking for kind of a streak-free look, you could always do a second thicker coat of water-activated face paint. However, again, time did just not allow that for me in this look. But yeah, you're going to yellow up anywhere that you had outlined, avoiding the eyes that you had sketched out, as well as doing your shoulders, your chest, everything, because Marge is yellow, so we need to be yellow. Now, just because I mapped it out didn't mean that it was perfect. I am no artist by any means, so I just took a makeup wipe and I had some trouble with her like lower lip and chin area. It's hard getting like a 2D image on your like protruding face and getting all the lines and everything right, so I just wiped off some of the chin and black to remap out her face just with a smaller brush and going back in with the yellow and then going back in with the black to really just kind of accentuate and make sure that all the details were, you know, just right. It's also, this is one of the few cartoon looks that I've actually done. I've only done a couple of them and I hope to do more in the future, but they're really, I mean, they're challenging because if you don't get the details right, it's, you know, that's what makes these characters iconic, is the details. So you really need to make sure that you're getting everything spot on. And sometimes that can be a challenge and why you have to continually like wipe away and start from scratch. So then I wanted to set the yellow, and I also thought that it was a little too bright. So I took some mustard yellow and some like bright / dark yellow. I don't really know what to call it. It's kind of like a dandelion yellow eyeshadow. And I just gently patted that all over my face, not swiping or not buffing it in, just patting it on top of the yellow to kind of give it a little bit of a darker appearance, as well as to set that yellow face paint so that it wouldn't move anywhere. And now on to starting the details, starting with the eyes. Like I said, I wanted them very round, but I'm terrible at circles freehand. So I found this container and it was like the perfect size that I wanted my eye, my Marge eye, to be. So I took the container and I painted the rim of it with my my white face paint, which is a cream face paint. And I just kind of like a stamped that on my face and then filled it in completely. It worked really, really well for the one side, as you can see. What was kind of challenging was getting the edges perfectly straight, but it didn't really work for the other side because of my nose. It worked out. I'm not trying to say it didn't, because it did, obviously, but the other side was a little bit more tricky because I had to do some reshaping, because as I said before, like trying to take a 2D image and pop it on your protruding face that has like ostensibly mountains on it, you know, with like your nose and your brow bone and things like that, it was just a little bit more difficult, and I really had to kind of compensate for the roundness of her eye on the other side of my face. Lightly setting that with some translucent powder because it's cream makeup, so you really have to do that. My eyelid kind of got messed up, but whatever. Then going in with the black face paint, I went in and started my details with her ear, as well as outlining the eyeballs and getting her smile and her nose right. In future cartoon looks, I will know better that I probably should have attached some sort of paper on the side of my face so that you could actually see her ear. However, like I said, this was like, this is my like third or fourth cartoon look, and I'm really just kind of learning the ins and outs of what you need to do to make it look believable, if that makes sense. And so for future reference, for her ear, because I say this in that when it photographed, it looked really, really awesome in person because you could kind of see a little bit better from my personal ear to ear, but whenever it photographed, you weren't able to get kind of that full picture. And so in the future, what I would probably do is for any type of details that you can't see whenever your face is facing forward, such as the ear, maybe a little bit of her lip, her chin, maybe, you know, even like the other side of her eyeball, I would have probably taped a little flap of paper on the side of my face to give that little bit more dimension, or rather to bring that dimension forward facing, but I'm not disappointed. And this is kind of right now where you're going to see I had to kind of compensate for the roundness of her eye because of where my eye socket is and where her eyeball needed to be. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but I overcame it. Makeup wipes are your friend. Don't get discouraged. Keep pushing through. We're all in this together. Go Wildcats. Then doing her mouth, which is just a line, just a thicker line. I did it kind of following my lower lip, so that whenever I tucked my lower lip in, it would be a little bit more of a straight line. Her mouth is pretty easy though. And then adding the iconic lashes, 4 big lashes on each eyeball. I think they're iconic, but I mean, they're just cartoon lashes. What's iconic about Marge Simpson is like her 2-foot high blue curly hair. That's really what's iconic. The pupils also were kind of a hard thing for me because I have a it's not a hooded lid situation, but it is kind of a hooded lid situation. And right where her pupils needed to be is right where my hooded my hooded lid situation is. So that was a little difficult, and they are a little uneven, but that's just me nitpicking. Then starting her necklace, because this is one of the few accessories that she wears, I just took some orange face paint. Again, this is cream, so it showed up really well on top of the yellow. And I just made little circles to create her necklace. And then, as you'll see coming up, I just took that black face paint and I outlined each bauble. And then after I applied the orange and outlined each bauble of her necklace to show distinct beads, I took a little bit of white and I added a little bit of like shine detailing just to give it a little bit more of like a realistic feel to the actual necklace itself. And I thought that was just like a nice touch. It's definitely not necessary, but if you're wanting to give a little bit more like depth and dimension and make it look a little bit more like quote unquote real life, I think it added a little something something, you know what I'm saying? And then finally, I added some lines for her arms. You can't really see her shirt, so I didn't add any green, but if you were going to be able to see below my shoulders, I would have added some green for her dress. And then finally, the, cherry on top of the cake is adding her blue wig. I put the wig on and I adjusted it to see if you'd be able to see my ear or not, because I really hate painting my ears. It's a B word to get off. So I could see if you could see my ear. You could, so I painted my ear. And then that's all she wrote. And that's it for my Marge Simpson makeup tutorial. I made her wig out of blue pool noodles that I got at Walmart for like 50 cents at the end of summer. It still needs a lot of adjusting, but I can tell you that off camera it is to size. It's about 2 feet tall. But yeah, it needs a little bit of adjusting around her face. Again, if I were to do this look again, I'd probably add a couple different details, but I hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a big old thumbs up. I will list all of the products in the description box below. As always, please be sure to subscribe and hit the little notification bell. I would hate for you to miss out on any more reviews, tutorials, or unboxings. Thanks so much for watching, guys.